In 1,000 feet. Turn right. In 400 feet. Turn left. Then turn left. Turn left on Finzer Street. Then turn left on Logan Street. Turn left on Logan Street. You've arrived at your destination.
My speedometer isn't displaying speed. The tachometer isn't displaying miles traveled, either in trip or total. It's not just because it's not installed in my car. It started doing that a while ago, and then it just stopped completely. So I got a new one of these, and I've got some videos that are talking about the construction of this thing, but this unit and the replacement one that I got were not the problem. So the problem is a short somewhere in the circuit. To figure it out, I'm going to work my way backwards from the point that it connects to the vehicle speed sensor all the way back to the computer, if it comes to that. The vehicle speed sensor is located on top of the output shaft of the transaxle. This is an image in the section that it talks about removing the transmission completely. This is one view of it, that's another view of it, and this is the circuit diagram of the actual piece. I don't really care about what's happening in the internals here. What I do care about is where these are going. So it all starts with this post, and it's rotated by the transmission axle, and that makes the Hall effect sensor transmit electricity through these contacts. The two books I'll be using are the 2003 Electrical Troubleshooting Manual and the Shop Manual. There are some minor differences, but they're not consequential enough that it makes a difference in diagnosing or repairing. In this it's called the dash fuse box, and this it's called the junction box. They're both the diagram for the vehicle speed sensor, and the internals of the vehicle speed sensor are the same on both of these. The reference locations are the same. On this it's 59 going to the ECM, unless it's 59 going to the ECM. The figures on some of these are missing locations in the shop manual, but they're not in the electrical troubleshooting manual. So generally when I'm referencing this, I'll be using page FL44 in the shop manual, SD28 and SD29 in the electrical troubleshooting manual. For the speed sensor itself, it has 3 posts. They're numbered 1, 2, 3 from left to right The harness connector, since it's positioned like this, is labeled 1, 2, 3 in the manual from right to left. So 1, 2, and 3 on the vehicle speed sensor corresponds to 1, the output that's going to ground, 3, the output that's going to the ECM, and 2, the one that's going to the dash fuse box. The post on the bottom is the one that's being spun by the transaxle. That's illustrated here. This is where the information is coming from. So it's being output to 3 different locations. There are no inputs on this side. These are all outputs. So any power that's going into this thing is not going to be supplied from the battery or anything else. It's indirectly coming from the engine and the motion of the car, which is spinning the transaxle. But as far as the electrical system goes, it's all output. The color abbreviations are on page GI8 of the electrical manual. The symbol for black is B, not K. The symbol for blue is L, as in BLUE. B was already taken by black, so they had to use L. Black is the ground. It's from the 1 pin. Blue is the one that goes to the ECM. That's from the 3 pin. The orange wire is the one that goes to the fuse box. That's the 2 wire. The maximum output voltage from the vehicle speed sensor is 5 volts. I've connected the black wire to the COM lead. I've connected the orange wire to the input lead. I've connected the VSS to a drill, and I can see an increase in the voltage when the drills run. When I do the same thing with the blue wire, I don't see any change on the voltmeter. So now I have the COM lead disconnected, and I just have the blue wire connected to the input. So this tells me that my VSS is functioning as intended. The diagram tells me that the only way electricity is going to the ECM from the fuse box is if it goes through a capacitor first. It's going to go through 2 capacitors before it goes there. The only way that it's going from ground to the ECM is if it goes through a diode, a one-way diode. And the only way that electricity can go from the ECM back to ground is through that capacitor. Energy can go to ground from the fuse box, again if it's going through a capacitor, but the only way that energy is going from ground to the fuse box is if it goes through a one-way diode, a capacitor, or a capacitor and one-way diode. So the reason it wasn't working with these 2 connected was because it didn't have a fuse box to go to. It needs all 3 connected, or the fuse box and the ground wires connected, but it can't have these 2, but it can just have this one connected. All that tells me is that it's working okay. As long as I got something out of each one of those wires, what was running, it's fine. Since the vehicle speed sensor is working fine, that means there's a problem with the wiring. The gauge for the wiring is 20 gauge. It's 0.5 millimeters squared, so that's why you'll see 0.5 or 0.3 millimeters squared for 22 gauge on all the diagrams. The ground is the easiest one to check since it's just going straight from the vehicle speed sensor to its ground. The reference number for that is G11. G11 is on page CL23. G11 is in this location. We'll have to go out into the car to take a closer look at that. It's not to be confused with G04, which is right next to it. G11 is behind this wiring cluster here. The one we're looking for is in between C22 and MC01. C22 is the engine control relay. MC01 is one of several connections to the main harness. G04 is another ground connection, but G04 is close to the instrument harness and the left front door harness. Grounds are grounds, so I could connect the wire if I had to replace it to a different ground, but if I don't have to replace the wire, I'll just leave it in situ. The other easy one to access is MC02. That's behind the heater, which is behind the glove box. We'll be able to check pin 11 on that one. The next one after that I'll be checking is C26. C26 is the engine control module. Assuming there are no problems with that wiring so far, I'll move on to MC01. That leads to the instrument cluster first and the engine, timing, and control module after that. MC01 is behind that horizontal bar there. It's a large cluster of wires, and I'll be disconnecting that to check continuity. M7001 and M71-1 are both connected to MC01. This is the one for the engine, timing, and control module. That's M70-1. M71-1 goes to the instrument cluster. Now I know the instrument cluster works because everything else in it does work. So if there was a short in this one, I would expect to see other things going wrong, but it's confined to the speedometer, so I'm fairly confident that the wiring going to the instrument cluster is fine. I'm going to get a baseline reading for the battery connected and disconnected. If I check it while the battery's connected, it's going to be 12.6 volts. If I check it when it's disconnected, it's still going to be 12.6 volts. If I check the amps when it's disconnected, it's going to be around 1.0. If I check it when it's connected, amps are going to be 1.0. Manual says to attach negative to position 1 on the connector and connect my positive to ground. So I've got my positive connected to G11. That's ground to G11. So that's not the connector that is closer towards the driver's panel. It's the one that's further back in there. The negative is connected to position 1 on the connector. So it's the black wire. And what my multimeter shows is 0.2 ohms. So it's next to zero resistance. So that's what it's supposed to be. That tells me that it's fine. The ground is fine. I'm going to connect the negative to pin 2 on the connector, the positive to G11. The VSS does not receive power. It sends power as a signal out to battery, the fuse box, and the computers. Positive on G11. Ignition is on. Negative in pin 2. And we're reading something that's less than battery voltage. It's close to it though. The battery isn't drawing as much right now. Now with the engine started, it's got more than enough drain on it. It had more than enough load on it. I've got negative connected to pin 3 on the connector. That's going to my multimeter. You'll see it shows next to 0. If I disconnect any one of these, the resistance jumps up. The positive lead is connected to ground G11. Then I've got a wire that's shorting pin 59 on connector C26 to these back here. It's just manually shoved in there. It's doesn't have a clip or anything. So that's 1 row down, 4 across. So as far as the wiring up until this point is concerned, there's nothing wrong with it. The wiring is fine. We're reading 0.7 ohms.